on his chest. You see that? The Acolawa are the Mesoamerican people who arrived in the Valley of Mexico in around 1200, on his chest. Right? The Acalawala or the Acohala were the sister culture of the Aztecs, as well as the Tepenac, Chacala, Ochimilca, and others. They're the sisters, like I said, they're all related. They're all related. They're not, we're not saying that none of them are related. They're all related. The only difference is that some of them are royalty. So, sisters, like I said, right? And so it goes on to say that, let me bring this around again, and I just wanted to show that real quick. And it goes on to say that in addition to these concrete ties, the koala, here we go, the Kalhua nobility claimed direct descendants from the Toltecs, making their bloodline particularly prestigious. So once again, what does it say? The Kalhua nobility claimed direct descendant from the Toltecs. So the first Aztec king, Mexica king, came from the bloodline of the Toltecs, which is nobility, which was not just no regular bloodline. So the Mexica were not a bloodline. The Toltecs, and other sister tribes were royalty. This is where the royalty came from. This is where these priests came from. This is who the real royal families in what we know as Mexico today really came from. So you have to understand, right, that a lot of these people that say today that the Mexica means the chosen people or the Messiah people, no man, that's not what it is. In reality, the people of the Toltecs were a royal bloodline. They established their kingdoms through royalty, and the Aztecs knew that, so they had to get somebody who was royalty in order for them to come into rulership. And that's exactly what they did. And who was royalty blood? I'll tell you who was royalty blood. Tola, the son of Issachar, was royalty blood. Who else was royalty blood? As we read in the book of Chronicles, all of his descendants, we named them. Man, generations were all royalty blood. So what you're doing here is you're looking in the book of Chronicles, and it's telling you that Tola, the ancient father of the Toltecas, of Tola, right, of the city of Tolan, all their generations were mighty men of war in all their generations throughout every genealogy. So what you're seeing here is that, once again, as we see in history, the people of the Toltecs were descendants of a bloodline. And that's why they carry that name Tol, as in Tola, Toltecs. So, man, simple. You know what I'm saying? You can understand who they were and where they come from. Today, you still have cities, Tula, Hidalgo, Mexico, like my brother said, he talked about that one, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of instances throughout Mexico where we still see, the people of the descendants of Tola, and how this culture, the Tolteca culture, was actually a bloodline, a royalty line. You know what I'm saying? Not just anybody. So powerful that the Mexica had to find somebody of bloodline, a relative of bloodline, to be able to take power in Mexico, and then lost it, right? And how did the Toltecs lose power? Their kingdom divided within itself, because some of the other rulers, some of the other bloodlines also started, to fight for that kingdom. And that's why they don't know what happened to it. They just know that that kingdom fell apart. So I had to bring that out. You know what I mean? Because, I'm seeing a lot of people talking about, Tola, Tolan, and I mean the Mexica, and this, Tonalá, Sinaloa. You see this all over the place. You know what I mean? So So this is where it comes from, that name Tolan, which means among the reeds, that's also Mayan. You know what I'm saying? That's also a word that comes from the Mayans. So the Mayans and all these people, they were all as one, they were all one nation. They all knew each other. They all knew what they were, man. Some of the things that I'm not mentioning is that, the Toltecas, they had a lot of stuff that they invented. So powerful that the Aztecs are credited with their inventions, the astronomy, the trade routes, establishing kingdoms. I know something else, the aqueduct system. You know what I'm saying? The aqueduct system. They invented the aqueduct system. They invented so many things that it's just hard to cover everything that the Toltecs bring in as a civilization. You know what I mean? They Ayar, that's true. A lot of the Toltecs just started, joining into other civilizations after their civilization broke down. They just started breaking into other civilizations, joining, assimilating into other cultures. Why? Because once again, they lost their power. They lost their empire. And how they lose their empire? Through the struggle within their own empire. They started struggling. They started to do that. So how does this tie into the Bible? Once again, the book of Chronicles begins to tell you who Tola was. And it's simple to understand. Don't we name all our cities, all our streets, after our people? When you see, very simple, America named after America Vespucci, right? Mexico named after the Mexica, right? What is that? Africa named after Sepias Africanus. So why wouldn't they name the city of Tolan after Tola? Why would they not have named the civilization Toltecas after this greatest man, Tola? You know what I'm saying? These are all instances that once you begin to realize how powerful the Bible is and how history is in it and how we understand who we are, we begin to understand civilizations. That while the white man begins to tell you, no, that's not what it is, we begin to understand that the white man covers up a lot of history to its own benefit. I'm going to tell you something that this is something that a lot of people don't know, but the first person to start to decipher hieroglyphics in the Mayan books, the oldest book in Mexico that's written before the conquest, one of them is called the Dresden Codex. It's called Dresden Codex because it appeared in Dresden, Germany. That's where it was taken to. And under Hitler, I don't know why, but Hitler decided to have his people start to redo this book. And Hitler and his people redid the book of the Dresden Code, the Mayan book, and they did it to a T. And they have copies, they did a recopy of it because, they had to take this book and it was all broken up in parts. So what he had to do was, and I'm going to show it up here right now. So they started doing the Dresden book and what happened is that Americans, right? Let me bring this up, Dresden Codex. I'm going to bring this out. So Americans, there was a couple of the American people who started deciphering this book too. But the Americans were deciphering it in a way where they were saying that we were sacrificing people and all kinds of nonsense. Well, let me tell you something. There was a Russian linguistic teacher who took that Dresden Code and started breaking it down. And that man did one hell of a job breaking down the Dresden Code. The white people started saying, no, man, you know what? This Russian, he's a communist. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But today, the broken down manuscript of the Dresden Code is accredited to this German Russian linguistic man. His name was Yuri Norozov. Yuri Norozov was the man who broke this down. and bring out the truth that now even the white people are agreeing, yeah, you know what, we made a mistake because he was Russian. They were hating on him, and you know they didn't want to do it. But this man saved that book. In Germany during World War II, they were taking all these books out of the library of Dresden. Dresden used to be the richest city, most prolific city in Germany during World War II, and they started taking these out. And he just so happened to be one of the soldiers on the spot when they were taking this, and he saw that book. And he said, man, you know what? I'm taking this book with me. And he took the book back to Russia, and he sat there for years breaking down this book. And he broke down that book to a T. And, you know, thanks to the Germans, the Hitler, and this Russian, that book continued to exist. Who knows what the Spaniards would have done with that book? Like they burned millions millions of books that the ancient Aztecs or, you know, the Mayans and all of them had. They burned those books, but, you know, the Russians and the Germans were able to save this book, the Dresden Codex, and through it we begin to understand more of our culture, of our ancient culture of Mexico. You know what I'm saying? So something to understand. You know, when I read that story of this man who did Kornozov, who did this, man, great story, Kornozov's story. If you're into learning about the Aztec and Mayan culture, you have to hear the story of this man, Yuri Kornozov, the Russian, who broke down the Dresden Codex. And you want to remember that book, the Dresden Codex, because that's an important book for the Mayans and the Aztecs, you know, in our history, alongside the Toltecs. So that's where we come from. That's our history. That's how the Toltecs became royalty. That's how we know that we are not of the Mexica royalty. If you're of any royalty, you're of the Toltec royalty. These are the people that built the city of Tolan and Tola. You know, they created the first sizable Mexican empire. You know, this was the major city, the first one, you know, that ever flourished in Mexico. You know what I mean? So, you know, Tola de Cholula is an important part. You know, you got to understand this. You got to go in. You got to research it. Once again, you know, the inconvenient truth. That's why we're here. Right. That's why we do this history. That's why we do this research. You know, we try to bring out everything we can. You know what I mean? Because it's important to start to understand, you know, who we are and where we come from, and our heritage and you know what it is. Because how did this tie in? Of course, once again, the book of what was that book I told you? Once again, let me see. Salakia, the book of Chronicles, the first of Chronicles, book of Numbers. It tells us about Tola and his children and who we are and where we come from. Real important stuff, because you know what? That's how we begin to understand who we are and where we came from. You know what I'm saying? So much love for all my Mexican brothers doing the research, trying to find out where we come from. You know what I'm saying? And this is the way that we begin to connect. How? By teaching our brothers our history and by understanding the history of our brothers. You know what I mean? That's how we become, one again. That's how we begin to understand each other. That's how we come back into who we are and how we relate to each other. You know what I'm saying? Powerful stuff right here, the inconvenient truth. You know, I'm always trying to bring something out to show our brothers, you know, historically and biblically, because without the Bible, we'll never understand our history. And without history, we won't begin to understand the Bible. You know what I mean? Everything in the Bible, once again, is historical. If you look at the book of Deuteronomy, all history being unraveled in the Bible for the Black, the Hispanic, and the Native American Indian. And, you know, and when we begin to read this and we begin to decipher this, we begin to understand, you know, what it is. So, you know, when these Mexica people, these Mexica people come up and they start telling you that the Mexica movement, that all this, you know, it's it's not what it is. You know, the Mexica were not the chosen people. They're not the messiahs like you know who says that? The IUIC. The IUIC, that's I think the first place that I heard that the Mexica means Messiah. I think that's where it came from. You know what I'm saying? I think they're the ones I heard it from, and then I was like, you know, I didn't want to go into it right away, but I was like, no, you know, when I hear that, I'm not too sure about it. I had never mentioned it because, you know, I had to do more research on it, and you know, the Lord gives wisdom to who He wants. You know what I'm saying? That's who the Lord's going to give wisdom to. So the Lord gave wisdom to us to begin to understand, you know, who are the true rulers. So who are the true rulers of Mexico? The Toltecs, the Olmecs. They were the true rulers. Who were the Mexica? Those were the last tribe to come out of the 7 caves. They're the youngest tribes in Mexico. They came out and they were shamans. They were they had a witch doctors, so called, and they were nomads. You know, they didn't invent the corn. Actually, the god of maize, which is the same god the Aztecs had, the Toltecas already had that god from the beginning. They already had a maize god. They already had that. The Aztecs just took that from them. So there's like maybe 3 or 4 gods that were originally from the Toltecs that the Aztecs then began to worship. Did they sacrifice? They sacrificed, but not the way the white man says. They did not, you know, take the heart out while it was beating, and they didn't eat nobody. They were not cannibals. The Aztecs were not those people. They did not do any of that. That's a myth by the Spaniard in order to clear himself and make us look as if we were savages, as if we were people like that. That's not who we were. You know what I'm saying? So we got to understand that once you begin to research your people, you begin to understand that right there, that mythology that the Spaniards bring, that's not our people. You know what I'm saying? So with that, man, that's my little piece on Toltecs and Aztecs. You want to go ahead and research that. Any questions on it, you want to go ahead and post them up. We'll try to get back to you on that. So with that, if anybody has any questions, if you want any answered, any questions on what we talked about today, you know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and start getting some questions out. You know what I mean? The Aztecs hijacked, or the Aztecs, assimilated and then took the culture of the Toltecs and other cultures that were before them. You know what I'm saying? That's where they got it from. You got anything on that, Kisharwan, Chaazaq or Kisharwan?
Everything was you saying was super heavy, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, I posted on the comments that brothers and sisters, you know, to go ahead and support your new channel on YouTube.
Right.
You know, we got 4 subscribers, brand new, as of the beginning of today's class. You know, so brothers could, you know, show some support, show some love right there. Just subscribe to the new YouTube channel.
Right.
Trying to get to 100 by next week.
Oh, right. Yeah, let's get it in there, man. Let's see if we can get some more subscribers in there, man. You know, we always want people to ask questions. You know, we're going to start leaving the last 15 minutes of our program, you know, for questions, whether you want to say them now or just post it up for the next one. You know, we can always do it. Go ahead.
Also, I was going to say the challenge for the hitman. Are you guys going to mention that?
Yeah, we're going to mention that right now. A brother's asking me, Barack Kama is asking, the Mexica is not Israel. No, they are Israel. The Mexica are Israel. The Mexica is the tribe of the Aztecs. That's what it is. The Spaniards called them Aztecs, or people from Aztlan, which that's what Aztec means, people from Aztlan. But the Mexica, yeah, they were Israel. The only thing is that, you know, like the Israelites, the Ishikarites split up into groups. I think that's what the story of the 7 caves is going at. The story of the 7 caves is how the split up of Ishikar and how they all split up into little tribes. The only difference is a couple of those tribes were royalty. So maybe this is what happened. Maybe the tribes that were royalty were not hanging out with those that weren't royalty. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they were like, well, they're not royalty, so, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, we can't mix with them. You know what I'm saying? Can I explain the weapons of technology? For Joey Jimenez, yeah, you know what, the Aztecs, let me tell you something about the Aztecs. The Aztecs did not make weapons to kill people. They made weapons to maim, but not to kill. They did not slice people in half. They did not do nothing. Their weapons were weapons where they will maim people in a fight, and then take those people prisoners. Most of those people in the Aztec world were sacrificed as a loss. Now you gotta understand that when they took them as sacrifices, it was very simple. You lost the war, man, you were gonna die because you lost the war. But you gotta understand that the belief of the Aztec system was that if you died, you were gonna come back. You know what I'm saying? So they knew you weren't going to die. They knew your body was going to die, but you were going to come back again. Just like in Israel, we know that if we die, we're going to come back. If the Lord, permits that we still live in this time, we're going to come back. You may come back as your son, or you may come back as a cousin. You may come back as something, but you're going to come back into your family, into the family of Issachar. And the Aztecs, they knew the same thing. They knew that, you were going to go out, fight this battle, you lost, or well, you were either going to come back as a prisoner, and some of you were going to get sacrificed. They didn't sacrifice regular people. They only sacrificed royalty. So if you were of a royal family and you lost, with honor, you would die. Actually, man, I want to remember the name of that warrior. There was a famous warrior for the Aztecs that he was taken captive, right? This is a story. This warrior was taken captive by the Aztecs. He was from another tribe. And this warrior was like, well, you know what? You're going to put me to death because, I can't dishonor my tribe. I can't dishonor them. Because he was a great warrior, and the Aztec king was like, man, this guy's a great warrior, man. I can't kill a great warrior. So he was like, you know what, brother? What I'm going to do is I'm going to set you free. Go back because, you show courage and valor. Well, this warrior was like, you know what? I can't go back. If you send me back, my people are going to think I'm a traitor. So what did they do? He was like, you know what? Kill me. He was like, no, man, I'm not going to kill you. So then he was like, well, I can't go back. So then they were like, you know what? So I'll tell you what, let's send you to fight a battle for me. So he went out to fight a battle thinking at least I'm going to die a soldier's death. And that was the whole purpose of the king sending him out to fight, because he was going to die a soldier's death in the field. Unfortunately, he went out there and he won every single battle that he wanted to fight. So he kept coming back, and the king was like, well, damn, you know what? I'm going to make you leader of one of my troops. And, I'm going to give you this and this. And he was going to fill him with treasures. But he was like, no, man, I can't do that either, because then I would be a traitor to my people and dishonor them. So the king was like, well, what am I going to do? He said, you know what? Give me the death of a soldier. So what they used to do is they tie him up to a rock or a stake, and they give him a sword. And he would have to fight tied to a stake. And he would fight, but not a sword, but, one of those clubs to maim. And unfortunately, he took out 3 or 4 of them, but then he weakened. They got him and he died. I'll make sure that next week I tell the exact story and the name of this soldier that I'm talking about for Joey Jimenez. And I'm going to show you how a sacrifice was not a sacrifice like we imagine that the Spaniards painted out to us, but a sacrifice was one of honor. This soldier died with honor. He sacrificed his life for the honor of him and his people. Right. And I'm going to show you how this sacrifice worked. Next week, I'll make sure that I get his name and the story, and I'm going to give it all out. Or you can go back into some of my previous lectures, and you'll find it there. But that's what it was. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. I'm asking because in the Old Testament, it says they didn't really make weapons. They would buy or have other people make them. I'm just trying to put 2 and 2 together. Okay, Joey Jimenez. Well, the Aztecs, they made their weapons out of obsidian. They made their weapons out of, different types of wood. If you go into the weapons of the Aztecs, you'll see that none of them were swords. They didn't believe in, slicing people up in battle. They were dying like that. They died on a sacrificial table or as a sacrifice, but never like that. Barack Obama, why do some call the Olmecs African Americans? Sometimes they say the big head statues are Negroes, true or not. Oh, man, you know what, Barack Obama, go ahead.
I was going to say, at some point, there was no such thing as Hispanic. It's
right.
Either you were black, you were Negro, or you were white.
Right.
Obviously, we weren't white, so back then we would be considered Negro right. At some point.
And so I'm going to say this, it says we understand that Africans are the black race. Isn't that what it says? The dark race.
Right.
Right? And the Negro is not the dark race. We understand that through the dictionary of, what's the dictionary called?
Zondervan Bible Dictionary.
The Zondervan Bible Dictionary. There is two. So the Negro is not black. The Negro is brown. All of us are brown. We're all different shades of brown. So for you to say that that the Olmecs were Africans, then that means they would be of the dark race. But the Olmecs are not a dark race. They're Negro. They're brown. They're all different shades of brown. So are Mexicans brown? Yeah, we come in all different shades of brown. Light brown to dark brown. This is black. This is white. No one is black. No one is white. So we got to understand that what we're looking at here is a play of words. We're all brown. The Bible says that we were made from the dust of the earth. So it said, well, the earth is in all different shades of brown, from dark to light brown. So we are either dark brown or light brown. Were there dark brown people in the Olmecs and the Aztecs and the Mayans? Yes, there was. How do we know that? Because we can look at some of the books that were written pre-Columbian, the Aztec Codex, and they show different shades of brownish people. They show dark brown, light brown, within their own depictions in their own writings and their own books. They show different colored people within the Aztec, the Mayan, the Chichimeca, and all our races. So we're all different colored people in Mexico, in the Aztec and the Mayan kingdom. Go ahead.
So I got the Ham
Okay, go ahead.
definition in the Zondervan's Pictorial Bible Dictionary, page 330. Definition of Ham. He became, this is the second sentence, he became the progenitor of the dark races.
So Ham became the progenitor of the dark races, not brown, but dark. Go ahead.
Not the Negroes.
Not the Negro. And we know that the Negro is really just, a dark brown person. Like we're light brown people. You got any more on that?
Yeah, Khan. Not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites.
So he's saying where these people are, the Canaanites, the Libyans, all these people in what we know as Africa today, which is really lower Ethiopia and upper Ethiopia, because there was no Middle East. There was nothing like that. It was either upper Ethiopia or lower Ethiopia. And these are the people from those continents. And we were not. Upper Ethiopia or lower Ethiopia. And these are the people from those continents. From those continents. From those continents. from those con 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 Let me tell you something, you're going to suffer. This is labor. This is work. To go out there on the street and spread the word of the Lord, man, you're going to suffer reproach. People are going to look at you and they're going to be like, man, look at that crazy fool out there. You know, what are you doing, man? You know, what are you doing speaking those words, man? You know, it's Saturday, bro. What are you doing? You should be with your family. You know, the white people see you and what are they telling you, man? You a liar. You know, what are they telling you, man? You don't know what you're talking about. I'm giving this history class. I'm going to get a lot of Mexicans who are going to show reproach to me. They're going to be like, man, you don't know a goddamn thing about the Aztecs. You know, but I'm going to suffer this reproach with this labor, with this work that I'm doing, because this is labor, man. Let me tell you something. I'm always looking to see what I'm going to bring out. I'm putting in work. And you know why? Because I trust in the Lord. I trust in the living God. I trust that everything that I work hard to bring out, the Lord's going to bless for me. He's going to help me that people see this, and you know what? He's going to say, you know what? You don't know what you're talking about. I'm giving this Chaazaq Yad is out there spreading this word. I'm going to bless the words that come out of his mouth. And I'm going to help to bring in more people to this reproach. You know, because that's what happens. These people are going to come and they're going to hear what I'm saying and they're going to hate what I'm saying. They're going to say I'm a liar. They're going to disapprove with everything that I say. But you know why I'm saying this? Why I'm saying this? Because I know that the Lord is one who saves all his people. And I'm going to go out there and let people know, man, the Lord's going to save you. And what is he going to save me from? From these lies that the white man has perpetrated and has put throughout all our generations. And we're going to in turn save our kids from these lies that have been said. And we're going to wake our people up and bring them into the truth, what I'm saying. And those that believe, those that are believing in what I'm saying, you know what? Those are the ones that the Lord is going to save. And that's why it says, especially for those who believe. Who is the Savior of all men? The Lord is. For who? For those who believe. If we believe, the Lord's going to, you know what? The Lord's going to help us. The Lord's going to take us, and He's going to take these words and all this labor that we do, and no matter what they say, He's going to help us. And you know what? Continue reading on to the next. We're going to wake our people up and bring them into the truth. What I'm saying. And those that believe, in what I'm saying,
these things command and teach.
See, these things they command and they teach. We're going to teach these things. We're going to say these things that command people to come back to the Most High, to come back to the 12, to the law, statutes, and commandments. That's what all this is for. Continue reading.
Verse 12. Let no man despise thy youth.
See, no one can despise. And what's the youth? You know what? This is our youth. We're once again born again. We're once again leaving the old us and bringing a new person. This is our youth, man. This is where we feel great. Man, when I come out here and I speak this truth, man, to me it's like, you know what, something all new. I feel great when I get something to speak about. I'm like, man, I can't wait to talk about this. Because this is my youth. Continue reading.
But be thou an example of the believer. Let no man despise thy youth.
We gotta come here, we gotta say these things, and we have to be a perfect example for everybody else. And how are we a perfect example? By speaking truth, by doing the right thing, by doing this work, by going out on Saturdays, by taking, you know what, taking ourselves out there. We could be doing something else, but you know what, we're not. We're going to go out there, we're going to do this work, we're going to save Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's what we're going to do. Got any more on that?
But be thou in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity.
We got to do it with all our mind, all our body, all our spirit. We got to make sure that we do the whole thing. That we are with the Lord in everything that we do, everything that we say, every action that we take. We cannot be hypocrites, man. That's for the Christian church. That's for the Catholic church. We are all new people. Like we said at the beginning of the show, for the women, for the men, when we said shut your mouth, you know what I'm saying? It means exactly that. Keep your mouth shut and do what the Lord tells you to do, so we can be new people again and do this work the way it's supposed to be done. Anymore? We got to make sure that we do the That's what it is. That we are with the Lord in everything that we do, everything that we say, every action that we take. We cannot be hypocrites, man. That's for the Christian church. That's for the Catholic church. We are all new people. Like we said at the beginning of the show, for the women, for the men, when we said shut your mouth, you know what I'm saying? It means exactly that. Keep your mouth shut and do what the Lord tells you to do, so we can be new people again and do this work the way it's supposed to be done. Anymore? We got to make sure that we do That's what it is. That way we are with the Lord in everything that we do, everything that we say, every action that we take. We cannot be hypocrites, man. That's for the Christian church. That's
1 Corinthians 4 and 10. We are fools for Christ's sake.
That's why we wear the garments. That's why we out there on the street. That's why we break the scriptures down. That's why we look that way to you. But we are what?
Fools in Christ's sake.
Since when did you see in the Christian church that they follow these laws, statutes, and commandments and goes to the extreme, to the extent of what the law, statutes, and commandments not to with the extent, and even the extreme of works, even the extremes of works.
1 Corinthians 4 and 10.
That take over churches.
We are fools for
to
Christ's sake.
And UPK became an ISUPK church. That's why we break these things. That's why we be manifesting, and that's how we what?
Fools in Christ's sake. But ye are wise in Christ. We are weak, but ye are strong. Ye are honorable, but we are despised. We are fools
because you got all that
Christ's sake.
status, you got that white people came an ISUPK church. That's the white world. We're despised.
Fools, in Christ's sake.
You're strong in this society, but if you're a friend of the world, you are enemy.
But ye are wise in Christ.
Enemy to the extent.
We are weak, but ye are strong. Ye are honorable, but we are despised. We are fools. For Christ's sake.
White people should come up against us, understand that they can't go. Who can go against the white world? So we're fools, spies.
Fools, in Christ's sake.
You strong. Let me get verse 12.
Verse 12. But ye are and labor, Christ, working with our own hands, being revived, being reviled, we are honorable, we bless, being persecuted,
Being what?
persecuted, we suffer it.
Being reviled. Being reviled doesn't mean hated.
Right.
We got many haters. When you look on the page,
Right.
you know, you see many haters of ISUPK,
Right.
General Yohanan, you know, many haters. We're reviled. That's what that word means.
Verse 12. And labor,
Being persecuted.
working with our own hands,
Being persecuted.
being revived, being reviled, we bless, being persecuted,
Being what? Foe.
persecuted,
Captivity.
we suffer it.
Our forefathers keep these laws. That means a haters.
Right.
We got many haters. But we in ISUPK have become a law unto ourselves. We see many haters in ISUPK.
Right.
You know, generally fools for Christ show. Many haters. We're reviled. That's what that word means.
Verse
So,
12.
man, so
labor,
as you heard, man, that's the breakdown. You know, now you understand what that's all about. It's all about, you know, doing the work. You know, making sure you stay on it, making sure you go out there and study, and you know, bring your people into the truth. You know what I'm saying? Do what you have to do, and you know, most importantly, come into the ISUPK and you know, and share this brotherhood, because that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? So you know, yeah, go in there. You know, dig up that truth. You know, that's what we do here. That's what we do every week, man. We out here and we doing it. We trying to bring the truth out to everybody, and you know, uncover the mysteries that the white man has covered up for us. But that's what we're here for. History has been made to uncover. So you know, make sure that you stay tuned with us all the time, because we're always going to bring something out. So you know, once again, just to recap, you know, for the women, you know, and for everybody coming into the truth, you know, that's our job, to come in here, keep our mouths shut, learn, you know, get yourself right, leave the old you behind, and grasp the new you. You know what I mean? And come in and do that work. Wake up your brothers and sisters. We live in a time when we got to break that chain, you know, of lies that have been given to us throughout history. Decolonize your mind. You know, we touched on that. You know, also, you know, we're lineage of kings, lineage of warriors, as my brother Chaazaq, you know, was teaching today. You know, before us was who we talking about? You know, for the women, Esther. You know, a perfect example. Esther for us, a perfect example of how women help to serve the kingdom. How Esther helps to you know, keep Israel right. You know, she suffered, she went through a lot, but she was able to help. Perfect example for women, and how women should, you know, should serve, you know, their man, you know, at all costs. You know what I'm saying? We talked about, you know, the valiant men of the of Israel. You know, Judas Maccabees. You know, Judas Maccabees. You know, a warrior. His kids, you know, were warriors too. His whole family went out there and you put their life on the line to serve Israel. We talked about Issachar, you know, and where we come from, and how just like Judah, we are a line of warriors, a line of valiant men. You know, we went into the book of First Chronicles and showed how our bloodline is an important bloodline, and how we should recognize who we are, and you know, start to look at history and find out where we come from. We also went into the history of Mexico and the Toltecs and the Aztecs.
You know, once again, I mentioned how the Aztecs are not the chosen people. If anybody is the chosen people, it's the Olmecs and the Toltecs. The Oltecs were a bloodline, you know, a men who were chosen. You know what I'm saying? So we have to understand that our bloodline comes from a certain place. We also understand that, you know, our names play a big role on where we come from. Our civilizations were named after our ancestors. The Toltecs are you know, most likely named after Tola, a mighty man in all his generations. You know, all the way down, you know, all his generations were mighty men. His children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, and throughout all his genealogies. So that's what we capped on today. You know what I'm saying? We're going to put the show to an end. I want to thank everybody for joining us, watching the show. You know, every week, every Wednesday, The Inconvenient Truth, right here with me, my brother Chaazaq, Kasharwan, and the youngster Ephraim here. You know, we're here to bring out that truth every Wednesday. You know, join us. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them up, man. You know, I'm always in touch with everybody. Stay on my Facebook. Remember, we're on the Inconvenient Truth at YouTube. We're going to start pushing that channel, so, you know, invite people to watch it. We're still working on, we're going to push out some of these headbands. We're going to give away some headbands to a few folks there. So, you know, we're going to start looking at that. So stay in touch. We're going to bring that out next week. I wanted to touch on it today, but, you know, we're still not completely prepared. So, you know, let's do that. What is that I told you? The watch parties. We're going to start pushing watch parties. So if you got some people that want to go on the watch party, we're going to start doing that for the headbands. So, you know, prepare yourself. Get your watch party ready. You know, we're going to bring out more and more truth. We're going to start recapping on some of our old shows to bring onto the YouTube channel. So get ready for some history that you might have missed previously. I'm going to start bringing out again. Once again, Tawada for watching the show. You know, to everybody out there, stay tuned with us. Everybody take care. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai Barakatah. You know, and from California, ISUPK Cali, we want to say thanks to everybody. Shalom, Israel. Go ahead, Shadrach. That's right. Go ahead, Ad.
Hey, Shalom Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai Barakatam.
All right, till next week. Shalom, Israel.